And I'm back yet again, Tolkien Fanatics, with the 5th video in the Match Play Guide Scenario Breakdown series. I hope you all are doing well. I have 2 pools left to pick from in this first set of 6. Pools 3 and Pool 6. So Pool 3 is an objective scenario. Pool 6 is unique scenarios. So Pool 3 and Pool 6 are kind of similar to what you're trying to do. There's really nothing gained by going all out hardcore, trying to gill for blood. These 6 scenarios and these 2 pools are really about getting unique, objectives, obtaining objectives, stuff of that nature. So the one I've chosen for this video, I did roll a dice. I put Pool 3 as a 1 through 3, Pool 6 as a 4 through 6. And of course, knowing my dice rolls, guess what I rolled, guys? Yeah, you got it. I rolled a 1. So we will be talking Pool 3. And just to carry on with the number 1, I chose the one that is a 1 or 2 if you roll a d6, and that is Seize the Prize. So we're talking Pool 3, objective scenarios. Scenario 7, Seize the Prize. So Scenario 7, Seize the Prize. Yes, I said that 3 times now. I lost my train of thought for half a second. Don't blame me. I'm tired. It's Monday. Blech. So this is an interesting scenario in my opinion. You definitely need to have some movement in your army, or something that can allow you to counteract your opponent's first movement, or have something that can help you, shoot down enemy movers, or get places quickly. The way to do it if you don't have movement is obviously a captain with some march to get your troops moving, or a lot of bows, or just a hardy army that can spread out and make it hard for your opponent to get past. The reason I say that is this is a movement scenario. Yes, I know. You're probably thinking, wait, this isn't the maneuvering list. You're right, it's not. But the deployment for this is the back 12 of yours and your opponent's deployment zone. So like normal, roll a d6, highest rolling player picks the board edge that they want to play off of, and then you alternate deploying war bands within the back 12 of your 24-inch deployment zone. Okay? So that's your deployment. Setup is pretty simple. Just set your board up. We've talked about this before. Use whatever you need to for terrain. But the most important thing is that there's an artifact that is going to be dead center of the board, and that artifact is what you and your opponent are going for. So this game lasts until one of you is quartered. Yes, this is another long playing game, just like Reconnoiter. I really wish that G-Dub might have had a little bit of forethought when they built these and went, oh, hey, this is a movement scenario. It's going to take a while. You're starting 24 inches away from each other. Maybe we should have it so that this scenario ends when somebody is, or doesn't end, but has the possibility of ending when somebody has been broken. I can see both sides of that coin. Like I said, I just advocated for it myself, but I could see the thought process being, well, in a scenario where you've got a heavy shooting army, and I have played those before, playing both Corsairs and Faramir's Rangers before they got the stupid nerf, you could sit back and probably break your opponent if they're a low enough defense if you just roll hot dice. Now, I don't roll hot dice, so I wouldn't know about anything of that ever happening. I'm lucky if I get 4 or 5 kills in shooting, even with 60 billion bow shots like I would with Faramir's Rangers. I know a couple guys are listening going, you lying SOB. I'm sorry. Matt Hammond's probably going, you liar, because I did get a couple of his Corsair guys with my own shooting in a scenario. But I guess I could see that's why maybe this scenario and other movement-based scenarios don't end at, or don't have the possibility of ending once somebody's broken. But back to Seize the Prize. Like I said, it ends when somebody is quartered. The objective of this scenario is pretty straightforward. You're trying to maneuver your army and get the artifact that is in the center of the board. So there's some special rules with this artifact. It is considered to be buried in the soil, and to dig it up, you must use an infantry model, okay? So that means if you're an all-cav army, i.e. all-mounted Rohan, which is one of my favorite armies to play, you're going to have to go and dismount one of your guys to do it. So when you end your turn, When the infantry model ends its turn in base contact with the artifact marker, they may attempt to free it. Roll a d6, and a 4-up, the artifact has been freed and is treated like a light object. Okay, so if you don't know what light objects are, basically they don't do anything to hinder your movement whatsoever. That being said, you can hand off a light object with no problems once a turn. So if an infantry model picks it up, the following turn, you can't do it the same turn, the following turn they can hand it off to a cavalry model or a flying model. So flying models actually are considered infantry too. If you look at them, a lot of the ones that have fly, let's look at Crabine for example, they have a base movement, but then the special ability fly is what lets them move to 12 inches. So they are considered infantry models, which means they can attempt to pick up the artifact. And once they got it, you could just fly away. And that's important because the majority of your victory points are scored by controlling this artifact, getting it on your opponent's side of the board, or even better, running it off your opponent's board edge. So you will get the least amount of victory points for this main objective by just simply controlling the artifact. You'll get more if you control it and you get the model holding it onto your opponent's side of the board edge, and you will get the most if you can get it off your opponent's side of the board. So it's kind of like a mini reconnoiter. So that's why mounted armies or models with fly are very, very good, because getting a guy to run up there, dismount, pick it up in the first turn if you're lucky enough to roll 4 up, and then the next turn handing it off to a cavalry model and having that cav model just go Bazinga and fly away. That's all, or sorry, not fly away, run away, is really good. I have done that before in a scenario where I ran a practice game and I was running, I mentioned it before, a Gondor Fiefdoms combo, and I was able to run, or not run, but move my army up, pick it up with an infantry model, hand it off to Boromir, and then just literally spent the rest of the game maneuvering Boromir around the edge of the board, and then ran him off the board to get full VP or max VPs for that objective, which is great. Okay, so there is one caveat to this artifact though, and this is something that sometimes gets forgotten. You cannot use 2 caveats. Okay, we'll go over the more important one is the one I was getting to, but I just looked at the book and saw the other one. You cannot use might to influence this roll. It is a straight natural roll. You roll a 3, sorry, you're not picking it up. Okay? And the biggest thing, and this is something that even I have been guilty of remembering to do, not for me, or not against me, but for me, where I've let my opponent roll multiple times and do this. Only one model from each side may attempt to pick up the artifact each turn. Okay, that is important, which means until it is uncovered, you and your opponent can only attempt to try and pick it up once a turn. Now, this is huge because most times the artifact in question is just used with a 25mm marker. Sometimes poker chips are used. Again, I prefer poker chips or 40mm bases because they're a little bit bigger. You can get more models against it. Why do I say it's important for what is used? Well, if your enemy sits on top of a 25mm marker with their own 25mm model, there's no way for you to get to it because you have to charge him. And therefore, even if you end your turn in base contact with your enemy / the marker, you're still in you're not really in base contact with it. You're base contact with your enemy. It's kind of goofy. That's again why I think that 40mm markers or poker chips, which are about that size, are the best things to use for objective markers. But that falls on the TO and whatever they decide to use. So, moving on, I've already covered scoring conditions. What is some of the other ones? Well, this is another scenario where you can score more VPs for the secondary objectives by breaking your enemy and being unbroken, as opposed to killing the leader. If you break and you're both broken, you get 1. If you wound your enemy leader, it's 1. But you're going to get more points from breaking your opponent and being unbroken than if you were to kill the enemy leader. If you were to kill the enemy leader. So if you break your opponent and you're unbroken, you're going to get more than killing the enemy leader would give you. There we go. That's better grammar right there. All right. So just a few tactics. This is where another movement scenario, like I talked about, marches are going to be big. Cavalry models are going to be big. If you can get a flying model in your army, holy cow, that's amazing, because that means first turn you're just flying up there 12 inches and dropping it on top. boom, you're going to get it. So make sure you position yourself, if you have one of those flying models, in a position where on the first turn you can do just that. I highly recommend doing that and just flying up there and grabbing it, because if, again, you can do that, the game's over. You've won. Because once you pick it up, your flying model is going to be able to just fly away from your opponent, unless they have their own flyer. And I have had a scenario where I was playing Dunlin, and I had 2 Kraybine, and my opponent was playing Angmar with Gullivar. And, yeah, my flying Kraybine against a Gullivar, not a pretty sight. Let's just put it that way. All right, it wasn't very nice. But yeah, if you have the ability to get up there and grab the objective before your opponent can get there, then that is really going to help you with this scenario and potentially set you up for a big win. Again, you want to get the objective and get it off your opponent's side of the board to score the max VPs. That will give you the best chance of winning the game. Other than that, that's pretty much all I think I have to say. I've talked about how certain armies, can play movement scenarios already before. You're definitely going to be looking to do some heroic marching here. If you're not sure what heroic marches are, I recommend going and checking out my movement phase heroics video in order to learn the different movement heroics. There are 2 of them? 3 of them. March, movement, and channeling. Might be another one. Yeah, I think those are the only 3. Yes, don't quote me on that. Go check the video out. The video has them all. So yeah, in terms of tournament play, this is still a pretty common scenario. I know that the 6 new scenarios came out, and for a while there, Sea Surprise was kind of usurped by a couple of the other ones. One of them being, actually I think both of them being, both of them being objective scenarios just like this one. And I will talk about those. I will say that I do like both of those other ones that are objective scenarios in Pool 3. Honestly, Pool 3 is some of my favorite scenarios, not just from the standpoint from gameplay, but also because they usually lead to some of the more interesting memories that come from it. You get a lot of cool stuff. Like I said, I got 2 Kraybine trying to fly up there and take on Gullivar so I can get this artifact. Excuse me. It didn't go so well. Let's just put it that way. But yeah, so that's probably everything I have to say for this scenario. I'm trying to look over and see if there's anything else. No, that's about it. Oh, see, okay, so layout, it does say to use a 25mm marker. And see, that again, that's just, it's up to the TO. I think 40mm markers are a little bit better. They're just easier, bigger to get to. Again, that's why it's a guidebook. So you can go by what the book says, or you can choose your own. And see, that's funny because I'm just flipping over and looking at another scenario, which is an objective scenario, and it doesn't say anything about the size to make the objective markers. So it's kind of interesting how the book works that way. Some of the scenarios they say to use this size marker, and some of them it's literally up to the players. So I guess go ahead and use a 25mm marker if you would so choose, because that is what the book says. Again, that's just going to be down to you and your opponent, and then a TO if you're at an event. And it is a popular scenario started events. So do be practicing that if you are looking to compete in events. Even if you're not going to win, you don't want to go and get, tabled in a scenario that you're not familiar or ready for. But yeah. All right, guys, that's everything. I definitely beat on the last couple minutes just to drone and hear myself talk, so I do apologize. I hope this helps give you some clear information about this scenario. And it's one of my favorites, as I said, so hopefully it's one of yours. Look forward to doing the final scenario, which is unique scenarios, here in a couple days, and have that coming out to you guys as well. And then there'll probably be a little bit of a break. I'll go into that more when I do the video. But until next time, guys, please, please, please smash that like, share, subscribe button. Help me out. Recommend it to a friend. Share it with your neighbor at work. You got a buddy who's a Warhammer guy. Be like, hey, go subscribe to this MESBG dude. And I'm sure he'll subscribe. You subscribe to me, I subscribe to you. That's how we take care of each other. But yeah. Until next time, guys, take care and enjoy Tolkien's Legendarium in all its extremities.